Quick stuff here. Okay, you ready?
I am so ready.
All right. Tell me about yourself.
Well, hi, my name is Christina Gardner. I am a fourth year journalism student at KPU. This is my last semester, so I'm very excited to graduate. I started my journey in journalism about 2 years ago, after taking some time off in school and reevaluating my life goals. I have had a passion for writing that goes back to when I was probably like 6 or 7. I have a journal full of made-up fictional stories that I have hidden away. So sometimes I'll look at them and get inspired. Yeah, I would love to land a job with the Canucks as a sports reporter. But taking smaller local journalism jobs before that would be ideal for me to gain experience before landing that bigger goal.
Okay, sounds good. And why this particular job with Black Press Media?
Well, for this particular job in Black Press, I love making sure that people have a voice in the community. Um, I want to get the news out there and I want it to be timely, credible, accurate. Um, those are kind of and ethical. Those are kind of the main things that as a news reporter, you have to strive to get to. And I think the Black press position for the news reporter really embodies that kind of reporting. And I am also the news reporter for KPU student newspaper, The Runner. So I'm very focused on the news in the KPU community and also the community of Surrey. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I have probably have I'd say about 30 plus published news articles on the Runner's website. And then I also am an intern. I also was an intern with Vancouver's Awesome, which is a media outlet in Vancouver. I wrote a lot of news stories and community stories with them as well. I have about 10 plus stories on their website. So I feel like all that experience kind of aligns with what Black press would want in this news reporter position.
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned being passionate about timeliness, credibility, and ethicality. Can you tell me how you ensure that your stories are accurate and truthful?
Yeah, so you gotta confirm, with your sources. So you can't just say something that, and then not back it up with like evidence. So whether that's from, the actual source itself, you should probably reach out and confirm the details, or um, go to maybe the plate like the article or you know journal that they to confirm those details. um Also, if like you are say like doing like an interview and you're kind of unsure that they kind of said this, it's really important to reach out to them, to not only to follow up but to make sure that the information that you want to include is confirmed and factual by them, right? Because you could get in
Hmm.
really big trouble. You could get, sued as a journalist. Um, yeah, libel is a thing, and you could potentially lose your job over something like not being factual. So I really take into account before I hand my work into the editor that my sources are all confirmed, it's accurate, it's timely, and it's also ethical. So, yeah.
Perfect. And our motto here at Black Press is we deliver the news that matters. What does news that matters mean to you?
So, news that matters, you know, I feel like it's news that we don't get to see. news that we don't necessarily see on, online or in print, but, are important. And it's those little stories, those little news stories that make up the bigger news story, right? So,
Hmm.
kind of like what's going on with the Middle East right now, you know, and in Iran and everything, there might be a huge news story about it, but we might not really know like about the people who have been affected, has lost their home, who has stuff that we there's no real news like stories about. And those are the
Hmm.
stories that matter, right? It's the people's voice. So that's why that's why news matters.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Thank you for that.
Hmm.
Um, can you put that in the wrong section? Can you tell me about a collaborative project that you've been a part of?
Yeah, so I was a part of, there was actually a couple. So I'm a part of the Climate Disaster Project out of the University of Victoria. And I had to do a collaborative like interview with a fellow student of mine on somebody who um, survived like the 2021 BC floods. And so
Mhm.
we did actually a sit down interview, the two of us, and collabed on the interview and conducted the interview with this person in a play and wrote a testimony about it. So from start to finish, this was a collaborative project that took about like I would say like 4 months,
Okay.
just from like reaching out to the narrator, seeing if they're available, seeing if they're interested in being interviewed, going through like the pre-interview process, asking them questions about like if they want to answer these questions, if they don't want to answer these certain questions, and then we would modify the questions as a team to then meet the standards of the person getting interviewed. And then we would go into the process of then kind of setting up a time and a place for the interview, which we did. And it was out of that person's home where they were most comfortable being. And then that interview probably took about, I would say, almost 2 hours. And then we sent them the interview audio because so they could take a look if they have any concerns or if they, don't want us to include certain things, then they can tell us, right? And once we
Mhm.
got that approval, then me and my partner then collaborated to write this testimony on their experience. And so that got submitted, yeah, last semester. So hopefully it'll be online on the Climate Disaster Project website soon.
That sounds awesome. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Um, can you tell me about a time you were in a high stress situation and how you handled it?
Yeah, so back in about, I'd say 3, 4 years ago, I was inventory lead in a warehouse. It was called Silver Icing. It was an online clothing store. And at this time, I was just promoted to inventory lead. And this was just right around inventory time. So this is my first time actually having to coordinate inventory. And the thing with inventory is that there's so much. We had over like 100,000 items in our warehouse. So we had to make sure we had to count all of it by a certain deadline. And the
Mhm.
company wanted me to do this by Christmas, or kind of, they wanted to do it early. And I was like, Christmas time is busy. There's so many orders going up. Plus, you want us to do inventory? That's just crazy. That's just impossible. But I said to myself, I kind of reversed that thinking. I said, no, it is possible. You just got to have the helping hands to kind of help you through the process. So I wrote out a whole you know, I wrote out a whole like list of ideas on how to kind of tackle inventory and put them into motion, talk to my manager, talk to the CEO, And then we came up with a few ideas, and then it was my responsibility to kind of come up with like a instruction list for people to count inventory. And then yeah, we then kind of started counting like in the next week or so. And yeah, then we ended up having the most accurate and precise inventory count in the company's history. So it was kind of taking that challenge of like, this is impossible to like, no, it is possible. You just need to get the support that you think you need. And then anything becomes possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of
Do you have
course.
any questions for me or
Yeah.
us?
So I was kind of thinking like, is there room for kind of growth in this news reporter position? Like, could I go up to like maybe like a multimedia reporter or even like an editor at some point? And then my other question is like how will I be evaluated? Like, will it just be strictly like just news articles that I'm writing, or is it going to be like, based off the interviews I do, based off the like how will my performance be evaluated?
Hmm, good job. We did it.
Love how Candy is going to review this and be like,